This is Abha from Adgully,
Hi,
and today, hi ma'am, how are you doing?
I'm good.
So today I have with me Miss Soha El Baklawy. She's a well-known figure in the Middle East. She's an entrepreneur, a woman empowerment expert, and a multifaceted leader. Soha is the founder of Businessita, a startup venture where she practices what she preaches. That is, women empowerment through an entrepreneurial ecosystem. So, ma'am, please tell me something about yourself.
Um, well, briefly, you just recapped it. I wear multiple hats, but Businessita is my baby. It's basically a psychology, social, and women empowerment. And we are called the ecosystem enablers because we work with other ecosystem enablers to help empower and build capacity for more entrepreneurs and women focused groups. And I'm happy to be with you today.
Our pleasure. Yeah. So, ma'am, can you share your journey from psychology in business to becoming an entrepreneur and a mentor for women entrepreneurs? What inspired you for this, for starting a business ita and, becoming a women entrepreneur type? Yeah.
Okay, so basically, I come from a multicultural background. I was managing the family business where I took my master's, and upon finishing my master's, the family business in Egypt grew to diverse industries. And then I attended a very random retreat. I call it divine intervention. And this retreat pooled 18 career achieved women, and it basically tackled that us as career achieved women still suffer from three main things: societal stereotypes I did not have coming from a multicultural background, unconscious bias of ourselves, or what we call self-limiting beliefs. I did not have it coming from an overachieving father. What brought me to my knees was something called self-critique, also known as imposter syndrome. And that was an aha moment for me. I left the retreat determined to do something about women, to not make women feel the same way I felt or to help them overcome what I felt. 2017 was the transitional year. 2018 was the launch of Businessita. And it came from the point of, okay, there are people who are doing the awareness, but what can stop a woman after knowing that awareness to knowing this awareness to move forward? And it was easy because women lack freedom of choice as a result of not being financially independent. Moreover, some of the women, because social roles are crucial to us, so they get so involved in the social role that after, if anything happens, or after their social role is not needed anymore, they get into an identity crisis, not knowing who they are, they're not a mother, a wife, etc., etc. So that was the core concept for Businessita. So working around women empowerment, automatically again divine interventions happened, and I got a scholarship for my doctorate for entrepreneurship. And the word empowerment, I wanted to play it from a non-materialistic pillar, because we're not a macro organization, and we were starting as an enabler. So I dug deep in my thesis for my doctorate on the difference between women and men, and how to empower women based on behavior and this and that. And that was the psychological aspect of the entrepreneurship overall.
Yes.
And I was always a fan of psychology, but I never grasped the difference between men and women traits, and why we were created to complete one another rather than to compete. But through my thesis, and in my thesis, I took Businessita as a case study, as a live case study. So basically, it grasped for me so many insights around the power of psychology in business. And ever since then, it's a basic rule of thumb. If you want a woman to succeed, you do not only focus on the business aspect, you need to focus on her mentality,
True.
and you need to balance through the psychological factor of her wearing multiple hats, either social roles, societal norms that she needs to fill, etc., 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 in order for her to be successful, or in order for her to maintain a well-being to thrive in business. So that's the core part from psychology to my background and where I came from.
Okay, that's lovely, Soha ma'am. Okay. Businessita takes a holistic approach by combining business strategy with psychological insights. Could you elaborate on why this is important for social entrepreneurs and women-led businesses?
Well, it started with, again, we were working ever since our launch. We've been working on the psychological aspect, but it was hidden. It was not tackled directly, like, you know what, let's stop this, let's stop that. And then the pandemic hit, and the pandemic just revealed to the world how much we need to focus on the mental well-being.
Hmm.
And
That's
after
really
that, we were like, okay, of course, unfortunately, women were hit more than men as a result of the pandemic, as we are caregivers, we hold more social roles, etc., etc., etc. We get overwhelmed easily because the emotional factor with us is stronger than the rational factor. So we focused more on the well-being part, and we created a program called Wellness in the Workplace. However, the word wellness was sounded more like a luxury, sounded more like an added value. Until the beginning of 2024, I sat with one of my mentors, and he was like, "You work on the well-being, and it is the well-being, but you need to tackle the elephant in the room. Do psychology in business." Because what you're doing is psychology based, and we are the first pillar. I mean, we're not psychologists or therapists, but we do the prerequisite awareness of when is your yellow light, how to avoid the red light in case if you hit a red light, who do you go to and what do you do. And that's where we stop. So when we shifted the terminology from well-being to psychology in business, the flow of someone finally tackled that, it just showed how much connected we are and how much we all suffer from the psychology part. Moreover, doing a little more research, it turned out that in general suffer from 72% of entrepreneurs suffer from mental impact once launching a business. And that's even higher if you're a woman and or if you're working on a social pillar. So it can go up to 96%. So can you imagine that it's this impactful and yet no one has tackled it yet? So this being said, we chose to be the first one to pioneer psychology for entrepreneurs with a pillar for psychology in women in general. I mean, it's common in the workplace, psychology for employees and psychology for readers, but we are the ones who are working especially around the entrepreneurial factor. And I cannot say that we have a mature model and mature material yet, but so far it proved very evident. We update ourselves as we go along. We take constant feedback on what we do. So we're basically building a strong pipeline or strong evidence-based modules and curriculum for social and women entrepreneurs, especially social entrepreneurs.
women's entrepreneurial journey differs from men's, and what psychological aspects do you focus on for empowering them?
Okay, so what do women differ from men? If you want to hit a woman, hit her in a social role. If you want to hit a man, hit him in his business. That's the basic. First of all, we make sure that a woman is doing fine in her social roles, or we cannot say fine because women are powerful creatures and they're all over the place. And they'll say they're doing it fine with tears in their eyes and sleepless nights. But the thing is, we redirect our focus on the social aspect for women. That's one thing. The other thing is we pinpoint with her how to not work like a man, how to be vulnerable as possible, how to take shorter breaks, how to call out for a problem if she has a problem right away. She does not need to wait till on a holiday or this and that. How to build a support group to connect with, how to learn when to pause, when to rest, when to say this is not working, to speak up for herself, like this is not enough, this is not what I'm looking for. And actually, a lot of times, or not a lot of times, but there comes a time when working with a woman through Businessita, we tell her, you know what, ditch the work at the moment, just drop it and focus on what's happening in your personal life and come back when you're ready. And that usually takes a month and a half. But in doing so, when she's focused on either her children, her mother, herself, because she was in a depressive mode, etc., etc., she comes back plug and play. So she comes back very ready. She picks up where she left off and she accelerates beyond pushing her or forcing her to power through when she's not well. So that's
That's
basically the different aspects that we do. So what we say is, yes, we're in the business, but you know what? We're the first people to tell you, ditch the business as a woman, go
focus.
work
Yes.
on what needs to be done, because when you come back, I'm sure you're going to be full focus and you'll come back and don't worry, you'll catch up where you left off. Moreover, we help them to have second in line and third in line business operation protocols and people. So what happens is, if we prepare her for the next time, if she drops like that, you know what, you have people running, they may not run it 100%. We thrive with you to make them run 100% independently with minimal supervision, but at least you got the role running or the business running while you can focus on what you need, and that's what happens.
True. That's wonderful, I would say.
Thank you.
Everybody, this should be everywhere.
Thank you.
So, as a mentor and advocate for women entrepreneurs, what do you see as the most significant barrier women face when starting and scaling their businesses? First is
um,
the funding thing, I would say.
when scaling and or funding, am I
Yeah.
correct on that?
Yes, 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 yes.
There are three main pillars. First pillar is herself, the limiting beliefs that she might have, the lack of confidence. But usually, if she's at a phase where she has reached business continuum or sustainability and she's striving for success or growth, then probably she does not have that factor. What happens are the two other factors, and the two other are somewhat external. The other factor is surrounding environment. It can be a husband, it can be a mother, it can be an in-law, it can be friends who are not actually a support circle, but friends, and they would just break her rings or dim her light bit by bit. When you do it subtly, it's like, you're dreaming too big, you're too driven in the business that you don't have time for us anymore, you don't have this, you don't have that. And because the woman is emotional and she always has this ghost in her head that I need to do better, so she receives that to heart and automatically that dims a part of her light. The other pillar is that funding is done from a corporate background with high collaterals. And because we are by nature very calculated risk, so we
Yes.
take risks, but we have to be sure at least 90 to 95% that it will work. Unlike men are more risk takers. They just shoot and usually may or may not get it, but that goes to the initial traits that we are. Men is primitively a hunter, so he's used to taking risks. Woman is primitively a caregiver, so she manages and works around that. So what happens is, if the fun comes in a way that she feels it puts on her the emotional and mental risk rather than just the financial risk, she will not ask for it. That's one thing. The other thing is women work in a way where, you know what, here's the finish line and I'll get to the finish line. But women uh, do not like the micromanagement part, do not like the continuous audit, do not like the here and there. It's like, you know what, we'll meet at the end of the year, I'll give you this, and if I don't give you, I have the collateral, so just leave me work on my own, I'll pivot accordingly. So and unfortunately, that does not happen from the financial or funding agencies. It's not yet done like that.
Yes.
However, there are multiple initiatives on the ground that are shifting. I cannot say to the woman's perspective, but rather to a more human element driven funding, where it's not only around women, but it's also around social entrepreneurship. So they're focused on the human element. They're focused on how can we empower more. Some investors are even there to support as a back end mentor or expert with the business. So they're like, okay, here's the money, you drive, I'm here if you're stuck on anything. But they're just starting at the moment. So there is still a gap, but I believe within the couple of years, if the initiatives on ground spread and expand accordingly, maintaining the human element at their heart, then I believe that this problem will be solved.
So Soha ma'am, how does Businessita specifically support women in breaking through the glass ceiling in industries that are traditionally male dominated? Like most of
Um,
the businesses are.
Well, again, we play a lot on the mental and mindset factor. A woman, I mean, those who work around empowerment, especially women empowerment, you call them feminists, you call them whatever you want to call them. But
Yes.
to me, at the end of the day, we empower calibers to reach to receive equal opportunities, and at the end of the day, may the best person win. The best person, either a man or a woman, I don't care. But when you judge, you don't judge on the
Gender basis.
methodology
Yeah.
or your way or the highway. I need you to judge on a more wide scope that works more on the deliverables, works more on the human element. And once this is done, may the best man win or the best person win, make it a man or a woman. So what happens is we start working with women on mindset, self-confidence, and on being driven and ambitious. And then what comes along is usually she's stuck on some small, or I cannot say small, but some other aspects of business. And here comes the octopus model. We have a strong network that we stand upon. So if she's stuck on something regarding legal, we have legal partners that will pitch in and help. If she's stuck on something regarding finance, etc., etc., etc. So we complete with her the missing gaps in her roadmap for her to be able to pitch and shoot for the stars.
Okay.
But it has to start with the mental and mindset aspect, the psychology aspect, because if the mind is not right, then halfway through
Obviously.
supporting her, she will not, she may stop for anything. She may tremble on any light or any
Yeah.
challenge.
The mind should be there first.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yes. Okay. From your experience,
I'm sorry, I forgot to
yeah.
say something very important, that for us
Yeah.
as women, we need to work around our passion, and that's not a necessity for men. It's good for men if they do the same, but for women, it's a must. Because if it's not around passion, and that's one of the very, very, very prerequisites that we do. If it's not a passion, if a woman wants to come because she's just good at that, or people tell her that, but it's not her passion, we are the first one to tell her, you know what, we don't recommend this for you. And I'm sorry, but if it's not your passion, let's not work through it. Because if it's not passion, along the way, the woman will feel burned out, because in businesses, we all get burnt out. But it's the passion that whispers in our ears, let's give it one more try. Just like being a parent or a mom, you can feel that you're a terrible mom one day, and then you sleep at night and you're like, you know what, I'll try to be a better mom tomorrow. So
Yes,
it's just
true.
this spark in your ear. And that's why for women, it's crucial to be around passion.
Yes. True. If you compare that with a child thing, so it is
It clicks
yeah,
right away. Yeah.
true. From your experience, like 22 years of experience, what unique strengths do women bring to leadership roles in
um
business environment?
so much, so much. Women are more empathetic, so they deal with the human element, which helps in employee loyalty, which helps in understanding communication, emotional intelligence, locking on deals, feeling pre or acting proactively to human-centric challenges that are coming, because by nature we have great emotional intelligence, and we are able to read the scene better. Again, look at the part where we're caregivers as primitive beings. So as a caregiver, you screen 360 surrounding to be able to make sure that the child is fine, nothing is going to hurt him, etc., etc., etc. So that's one thing, the empathetic factor and the emotional intelligence factor. The other thing is the ability for a woman to I don't want to say multitask, because multitask does distract the mental load, but I can say that a woman has, or I usually say a woman has 360 eyes on anything. So if something goes a bit out of proportion, she'll be able to notice it early.
Okay.
Thirdly is the way we do leadership, we do it more as let's all win. And again, that
As
plays
a
on,
team player. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Instead of you win, I lose. So that brings a type of value where it's collab over compete. And basically, in a world that is destructive by you win or I win, collab over compete is becoming the go-to.
Mhm.
And lastly is our ability to be as agile and as flexible as needed. So a woman would be like, you know what, I don't care when it's done, just get it done by this. And if you come up with something, she'll say, you know what, it's easier, it's better. I'm not saying that men are not, I'm saying women excel in that primitively. So it's like integrated in our DNA, so they don't spend effort to do that. On the contrary, I have to say men are more visionary, very visionary.
Okay.
Term.
Yeah.
Men bring a type of what we call problem solving hierarchy to the table. So
Mhm.
it would be like, here's the worst case scenario, here's the first solution, second solution. And this enables us as women, if we panic, we have that, okay, what does the reference say? Let's do that. So again, because it's not men against women, it's both of us together and the power of diversity. So we cannot say we want only women in leadership. We want women and men in leadership.
They should both, yes. True. Yeah, the world should be of both the
Yeah, yeah,
genders,
yeah.
I would say. Yeah. So, ma'am, you just spoke about that you give time off to women if they are facing some crisis at home or something. But it is, women are always, I would say, they are the primary caregivers and they run their homes. So, as women entrepreneurs, they juggle many family responsibilities alongside their businesses. So how do you as a person or as a businessita provide support for women who are managing multiple roles in their regular
Well,
life?
well, first of all, when we come as women empowerment experts, so we basically work with other macro players. So my best example would be there was an ecosystem enabler. I'm sorry, a governmental ecosystem enabler that did a woman-focused program, and they wanted to do the trainings from 6 to 9 p.m. every day for weekdays. And I'm like, no, 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 no. Women will not leave their families, will not leave their kids who have homeworks and bedtime, and husband who has this and that, and focus for you. They may do once on an exceptional base, but that's
Yes,
not how I want to do
it
it.
won't
If
be.
you want to get it done, you need to do it from 10 to 1:30 in the morning,
Mhm.
because that's the time the mom is free, because she has her son, her kids, whatsoever at school. She'll be done in by the time they'll come back, or early before they come back by an hour. So she'll have things ready for them. She'll have them prepared, etc., etc., etc. So what happens is, first of all, being a woman, we understand how women with multiple roles work and what is their time schedule and when is it the best for them, etc., etc., etc. So we work around the time schedule. Secondly, is my main concern is I usually say, stop telling. I mean, women need to speak up for empowerment, but it needs men or other macro players need to be listening. It needs to be a two-way dialogue. So if I tell you, you know what, Abha, let's do this and that, and you tell me it's not working out, I need to ask you what's working out, and
Mhm.
I'll tailorize it for you if it's in my hand. So second thing is, first thing is, of course, working around the schedule, knowing how they work. Secondly is listening to them actively, the two-way dialogue. Third is basically um, reading them and understanding when do they need time off. and when will she not be able to give anymore at the time being. So just give her her time and she'll come back to that. And lastly is, you never tell a woman how to do something. You give her the finish line and she'll play around it.
Okay.
So yeah, these are, so it's like, you know what, the objective is of the program is for you to get this done. I don't care if you want it to do it at the morning or at night, feel free to play around. Here are tools here and there, and let's work around that.
It's wonderful. The way you answer is really,
And I forgot to
very
say
easy to understand.
and I forgot to say one crucial thing. Anything that operates around a woman has to have a kids area or the flexibility for toddlers to be there. Because you cannot tell a mom to leave her toddler and come. She'll be minds with her toddler, even though she's physically present with you.
That's true. Yes. Even I have a 5-year-old daughter, so I can relate to that very well. Yeah. How do you guide women entrepreneurs to handle gender biases that do exist in the business world, particularly in securing funding or negotiating deals?
First of all is the awareness of what do you call as gender bias. So for example, if we're both applying for a loan and I don't have a collateral and a man has a collateral to guarantee the
Oh, no.
loan, that's not
Yeah.
gender bias.
That's true. That's true. That's
That's
true.
civic inquiry.
The both are same there.
So
There.
first,
Yeah.
exactly. So first we highlight what do we call is gender bias. That's number one.
True.
Secondly is, okay, you are saying that this or there is a gender bias around that. And yes, that is true and that may happen. And I've seen it with multiple people. I've had a friend of mine who was pregnant and the guy was communicating online, and just on after they signed the contract, on the last meeting, he discovered that she's in her third trimester, about to get in labor. And he was like, why did you take the contract and how will you perform that? And she's like, I have a team. Regardless where I'm going, I have a team and I'll be back in 3 months. You want the project delivered in 5 months? I'll be back and running in the last 2 months. I pick up where they left off. And he actually canceled the deal for that. He's like,
That's so bad.
so here what we do is we say screen the opportunity before running and saying he's a gender bias. So if I hear that a certain ex did that with 2 women, it's not rational to go to them. And so first of all, we highlight what is gender bias. Secondly, screen the environment, screen the opportunity, screen who you're going for. Thirdly, if it happened after these two, then you pinpoint it right away. You say, you know what, this is not working. If I had this or if I had that, this would have been different. And I'm raising the flag. So let's talk to solve the flag. Leave now the issue and let's solve this flag. And we guide her on what are the legal and ethical aspects where she's able to do that in a format that does not be taken against her or label her as unprofessional.
What trends do you see in female entrepreneurship, like presently, and how do you think that these trends will shape the future of women in business?
What trends do I see? I see more women in the pipeline. I see more eager to start their businesses, and that's one of the things that make my heart smile. Men are supporting women to get in business in some areas and in some businesses. So women pipelines are building stronger. That's one thing. The other thing is what we have with an ongoing debate with some macro players that, for example, they say that they want women in fishing or in the fishing sector. And when we screen what happens on the ground, women contribute to the supply chain of fishing, but not necessarily on the boats because it's risky, this and that, blah, 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 blah. So what we said here, or what we were debating here, is that women are in the value chain or in the supply chain. So they're contributing to that, but do not force women to get in boats and say that's women empowerment. Again, the decision at the end of the day goes to a woman where she wants to be. So if she fine as a part of the supply chain, receiving the fish from the fisherman, selling it in the market, cleaning it, this or that, that's her choice. So let's step back and say women empowerment needs to be a two-way dialogue where women voluntarily choose where they want to be. And our debate that listen to the woman, and if the women tell you that we're trying to get on boats but men don't let us, then we can do a program that can let women on boats. But women themselves don't want to get on boats, so let's not do that.
Yeah, do
So
not force them.
because it's trending that we have, you know what, this industry has only 2% women. Yeah, because women are not interested in this industry. They do not do well in that industry. But guess what, there is other industries where women are 98%. So stop shifting or forcing women to be in certain industries, because it's not working with our dynamics, it's not working with the multiple social roles that we have. A woman who needs to be in a fast-paced industry does not have the time to live a social life. If a woman or fulfill her social role, if a woman at any point in her life needs to make a decision between work or her social role, she will automatically go to the social role without any doubt. So don't force her into getting into a fast-paced, non-convenient industry, because it is kind of trending. And that's why we're advocates in that. We're like, pause, listen to them. They don't want it this way. And on the other part is we always ask for women. And I believe more women are speaking up, and more women are encouraging other women to speak up. Yes, there's still societal taboos. Yes, there's still limitations on the ground, but it's getting more and more them as women grow and as women evolve.
True. Great. So, ma'am, as a role model for women, for women, and I would say for men also, and as a multiple award-winning entrepreneur, what is your one advice that you would want to give women who want to stand out in the industry?
Focus on yourself. First and foremost, if your cup is empty anyway through, you will not be able to move forward. Focus on value rather than securing numbers, fixing pitches, doing this and that. Just focus on what value do you want to actually deliver. Clear the court, because us as women, when we're not doing well with one ball on the court, we intend on adding more balls, hoping that one ball will get.
One will hatch.
What happens here is this is distraction that causes us to do extra effort. And at the end of the day, we're doing extra effort and less chances for that. So I always say is clear the court of balls, make it 1 to 2 balls, and do not add any new balls until you get the ball in the goal. So third is clear the court. And lastly is, again, always and forever, it's about passion. Because business comes with turbulence, entrepreneurship is a roller coaster ride. It's fun, it pumps the adrenaline, but at the end of the day, for you to have the whisper to continue through, it needs to be driven around passion.
Okay, you just said more and more men are, supporting women nowadays. So, in what ways can male, ally with the women to and contribute to the empowerment and success of women entrepreneurs?
Well, we say that if you want to go fast, you go solo. If you want to go long, you go as a group. So what happens here is a woman goes, I cannot say faster, but I can say brighter if she's not supported, because she takes it personally and she's like, you know what, you told me I won't, but I will. However, women who have men supporting them, at certain points, they get there faster and with with less effort and less burnout because they're supported by men. So how can men contribute to that? Men can contribute to that by building the capacity of the women around them, not feeling triggered. So if I'm stuck on something, say financials, for example, and my husband is a financial guru, he would educate me in that. Instead of saying, you know what, let me do it for you, he would pinpoint it for me. He would tell me how. So the capacity building, I mean, I wouldn't be who I am today if it wasn't for my father. My father taught me to dream big. If my dreams are not big to scare me, then they're not big enough. That no matter how many times I fall, you know what, get back up. That it's a learning experience always and forever. No one is born perfect. No one is born a master. We all need to be amateurs. And lastly is always stand out from the crowd. So if I hadn't had that, I wouldn't be who I am today. Uh, Again, if men capacity building support, listening to what a woman wants and providing her the support that she needs. And here, the support that she needs does not necessarily or usually mean that she needs finance. It can be just comfort. It can be a hug. It can be security. It can be just telling her in the middle of everything that this too shall pass. It can be just, I'm here for you. So the emotional support here is way more crucial than the non-emotional support. And lastly is not be triggered by your partner's success. I mean, everyone works fine. Everyone does their best. If she's shining more than you, that does not take from you. That only adds for you. Because we had an old saying that it takes, behind every successful man is a woman. And behind a lot of successful women is is a male figure, not a father, a male figure. And we have a great example for that. Hadir Shalabi, she's co-founder of Freezania, Crafty, etc., etc. She just won global startup awards, and her partner is Amgad, and he's her husband, and he's just been supporting her all the way through. And
Yes.
I mean, every time I look at them, it just makes my heart smile. This is a great example of a man who is not triggered by his woman's success. On the contrary, he supports her even more.
Woman success, or we always say that behind a successful man there is a woman,
Yeah.
but behind every successful woman there is either her husband or her father, I would say.
A male figure or a brother or a role model, a male figure there. I mean, at the end of the day, again, we complement one another. So if a woman stands on her own, and by the way, women do, but by the time she'll reach enough success, she'll
Yes.
be extremely burnt out or traumatized. And that's not the core of living at the end of the day.
Yes, there should be some kind of a support.
Yeah, yes, male support, definitely.
Yes, so ma'am, that was wonderful. I would say
Thank
it
you.
was wonderful talking to you and getting to, know your ideas and everything. And one more thing, ma'am, you're very pretty, I would say.
Thank you. Thank you. Beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder. I always say that. If you're not beautiful, you will not see anything beauty. So thank you that you have beautiful eyes and you are beautiful inside out. And I had the pleasure for today's interview. I can't wait for it to go live.
Yes,
Like I said,
lovely to talk to you. It was an absolute pleasure, ma'am.
likewise, likewise.